So will native apps and web apps learn to coexist, or do you think that one will trump the other?
I think they'll always coexist in a way where both will have advantages and both will have disadvantages compared to each other. Native apps right now, when they're tied to a single device, clearly have advantages for the developer in terms of being very specific. You can do a lot with them that really takes advantage of the specific device. But they have other disadvantages like a steep learning curve, implementing across multiple platforms if you want your app to work on many devices, and also just a limited user base by the sheer nature of it being a single device. Whereas the web gives you the largest possible user base, and you've seen other things which were previously disadvantages like limited hardware support or limited 3D support also coming to web apps now. But I think you'll always see both coexist. Maybe not forever, but you'll see both coexist.
Now, moving into the Chrome Web Store specifically, that was announced earlier this year. Is there an ETA for when it's going to be coming out? Do you have any updates on that?
We're launching later this year. We made a lot of progress, announced it in May, and then since then basically have been ramping up and telling developers more details, and recently enabled them to start uploading their apps and listing their apps, previewing them in what we think the store will look like, so that they can get a feel of what the store will be, how they can integrate with it, and then build the inventory and then get the store launched later this year.
Now, what are the differences between the Chrome Store and some of the other markets that are out there, even the Android market, for example?
Sure. The Chrome Web Store was designed as an app store for the web, really as a great discovery mechanism for end users for great web apps, but also for developers to be a platform for them to reach millions of end users and also a better chance of making money with their apps. Both of those things, discovery and monetization, are things that we keep hearing a lot about from developers, especially web developers. And so the Chrome Web Store is that platform for both things, for end users to discover great web apps and for developers to really reach lots of users and make more money.
So is the idea to create an open marketplace and not necessarily lock people into one browser or another? Because it'll work on other browsers, right?
So the store itself is optimized for Chrome in its first version, but the apps themselves aren't. The apps themselves will run in any modern browser. They use open standards. And that's sort of the beauty of it. You're not limited to a particular device. Like these other app stores are actually the only mechanism often to get an app onto a specific device. Whereas for us, the Chrome Web Store is a great mechanism of discovering web apps on any device. That's how we're thinking about it. Because these web apps are open, and we want to be able to kind of bring them to any platform, any device, and create a good user experience around it, create a good developer experience around it.
So the last question I have for you, and you mentioned this a little bit before, is discovery the biggest problem that apps are facing right now?
It's discovery and monetization. Discovery is a big part of it, and I think the way you design an app store or a marketplace plays a big role in this. You've seen app stores that are more successful at getting good apps out and getting lots of apps exposed to lots of users. And looking at what works there is really important. I sort of personally look at it more like a bookstore, where you walk into it and sure there's like a sheer number of books and you can find a specific one you want if you ask the clerk, but also just by walking in you have a nice table with like interesting sections and someone's thought about what you might be interested in and you delve in and things. So it's really that responsibility that you have, I think, as a marketplace when you play that role. But monetization, I think, is the other big piece. What you see in app stores today across the board is actually a race to the bottom in terms of pricing. People actually don't choose the better Tetris game, they choose a cheaper Tetris game, and cheaper eventually means free. And so for a developer, you start losing incentives to actually make a paid app, invest time and money, because you know there's some competitor who takes your app, takes the same assets or the same thing that's fun about your app, and re-implements it and puts it up for free because he can and it's not expensive for him. But it's a challenge that developers face, and addressing both of those is really important for us in the Chrome Web Store.
Great. Well, thank you very much for joining us. Appreciate it.